Welcome to the Refrigeration Mentor podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Matthews, and today I have a good friend of mine who we met quite a few years ago because of CO2 and natural refrigerants. And we've been building a relationship over the years. I'm in one of his good communities, these great communities, the Slack Atmosphere community, or Atmo community, which I'm really excited to talk to Marc Chasserot today.
Thanks, Trevor. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, Marc, why don't we get you to introduce yourself to everyone and kind of give your background about natural refrigerants, how you even got into natural refrigerants, and let us know a little bit more of your story.
I'm the founder of an organization called Atmosphere that was previously known as Chasserot. We rebranded last year. In the US, you will know us for Atmosphere America conference that we've done for the last 12 years or so in the US. And we've done other things like a magazine for the trade called Accelerate Magazine, Accelerate America, to be specific, that was around for a few years, and a bunch of other websites, all about awareness raising around natural refrigerants. But how did I get into this? I'm not an engineer. So you're thinking, how the hell did he get into refrigeration? If you told me 20 years ago, I would have said you're crazy that I'd be like working in this space. But I basically was working in a Scandinavian company, and in Northern Europe, they're pretty clued up about technology and the environment, and business being good with the environment, being an opportunity. You know, the environment being an opportunity for business. And I was working in a different business unit, and I came across business unit on CO2 refrigeration. And I was like, what's this? And I was completely clueless about it. And then I got the opportunity to get some training around CO2 as a refrigerant for different applications in Norway by some guys that learned with Gustav Lorentzen, who's famous in the industry. And in particular, Armin Hafner, who's a well-known personality in our space. And he had the pleasure of training me on CO2 back in 2003. So that's nearly 19, wow. That's 19 years ago. So I basically heard about natural refrigerants 19 years ago, and I've been in this space since. I realized that, wow, there's a big problem. Refrigerants are an issue. They cause global warming and ozone depletion. They did, at least at that time. And then I heard about this kind of really cool reinvention of a natural refrigerant that, you know, we've been using CO2 100 years ago. And then some professors in Norway thought, wait, there's actually a business opportunity here. Let's commercialize that. And so I joined the CO2 team in this Norwegian company, previously called Norsk Hydro, got involved as their marketing manager to try and build a business unit around CO2. But to cut a long story short, their business at the time was about selling a patent. We quickly realized when we were doing business with American and Japanese companies that no one really wants to pay for a patent. They'd rather design around it. But in those conversations, I realized that there was a lot of people who were clued up about CO2 that said that that was the future for the industry. And so as I was in conversations with all these different experts, I realized that there was no source on the internet to really talk about CO2 in an objective way, or at least in an accurate way, because there was a lot of misinformation. And so I figured, you know, I had a background in developing websites at the time, and I said, hey, I'm going to create a website about CO2. And that was the website r744.com, which, you know, it's been around for over 15 years now. It's had millions of page views, and it's educated a lot of people around the world on about CO2 and the different opportunities. And that's how it all started. And to cut a long story short, after a couple of years, I realized that I wanted to be my own boss. Yeah. Something that's familiar. You know what you know what I'm talking about there, Trevor.
Yeah.
And basically, I did a management buyout, got rid of the patents, and just said, okay, the future of Chasserot at the time was going to be around promoting natural refrigerants, educating around natural refrigerants, and so kept the r744.com activity and just built it from there. So, and as my own boss, as an independent company with no commercial interest from big entities telling me what to do. And
Yeah.
only because I believed in the future of this industry, in this refrigerant and natural refrigerants. I want to do something about it. I believe that we have a problem with the environment. We've got to do something if we can.
Yeah, no, I really like that because back that long ago, 19 years ago, there was already a vision of there's a future for CO2, because
Yeah.
like you said, CO2 is nothing new. A lot of people think, well, this is new technology,
Mm.
but no, it started way back 100 years ago, just like ammonia, but ammonia
Yeah.
stayed on and was able to continue on where, well, in the 50s, I think it was when synthetics came out,
Yeah.
safer and this and that. But anyway, we're back where we started. We're back where we're
Yep.
started. And then 20 years ago or 19 years ago, now there was another vision to rehash this, which is really
Yeah.
cool because I really see the future is natural refrigerants in refrigeration, in air
Yeah.
conditioning, in our industry. We still got a long way to go, but let's talk about when you started out, like the r744.com, to where you are now with this massive global community of natural refrigerant enthusiasts. I know the community that I'm on, the Slack community group, there's over 1,000 people globally of the top experts on natural refrigerants, which I'm super excited about. And it's nice to chat with other people who really want to see the future go to naturals. And it's really great how we have different organizations. So yeah, let's talk about that process going from R7 to 44 to now the Atmos conferences, because you've been doing this for a long time and you're very, very passionate about it, which I really like. So let's talk about that a little bit.
20 years, 19.
Yeah.
The biggest chunk of my career, and I plan to stay in this industry because I love it. I love working with technicians, engineers, CEOs. I love it. It's great. We matter. We actually matter as an industry. We impact people's lives every single day, everywhere. Okay, and it's only going to increase. So in terms of improving their quality of life. So people just don't understand how refrigeration is important, and so I'm in this industry for the long haul, and my personal mission is to convert it to natural refrigerants or no refrigerants if it's possible. All right, don't get me wrong. I mean, if we can do a system without refrigerants, even better. But if we need refrigerants, then they should be natural, not this man-made stuff. Because each generation proves to us that there's some some pretty nasty consequences, and so I'm on this journey and have been for 2 decades now, and it started as CO2, but very quickly a lot of people who work with hydrocarbons and ammonia and then later air and water said to me, "Hey man, you've done such a great job with CO2. Can you help us with the other naturals? Because we're all in this together." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So that's how we then created these websites for ammonia industry called ammonia21.com, and for the hydrocarbon industry, Hydrocarbons 21, that have become references for those refrigerants and the applications that they serve. So that's so we kind of broaden our focus from CO2 to all natural refrigerants. Or to the main three, and we work with a number of companies that have air and water as well, but they're kind of more niche, I'd say, still today. But then that was around the writing and reporting about the trends and putting that online, making it easy for people to learn and educate themselves. And then someone said, "Hey, why don't you do a conference and bring these people together?" And then that's where Atmosphere came about. In 2009, we created our first Atmosphere conference. At the time, it was called Atmosphere 2009. It was hosted in Brussels, but it was a global event. It had lots of policymakers, end users, and manufacturers and different stakeholders attending. And from that, we just grew that. And over the last 14 years, we've hosted close to 70 of these conferences around the world on I don't know, I'd say five continents. We've been in North America plenty of times, all over Asia, Australia, all over Europe, South Africa, Brazil. We're going to Mexico next year. So, it's this, we're all over the place. And it's always about connecting people together. And when you bring them physically together, it creates magic. You connect the dots, right?
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, wait a minute, those guys are doing it. What about us? Maybe we could do that. And then that's how you kind of accelerate the process. And that's what we love about it, because we bring different types of people together to knock, knock neurons together. And then from that, it generates new ideas and new opportunities and new projects. And that's what I love about what we do. We connect people, and we've created that global network for natural refrigerants that we now call Atmosphere. And from that, we are developing different services to just improve that and that experience every day. So
And
I don't know
that's
if I've really answered your question.
That's great. That's what I really love about it in this refrigeration industry. And what I love, it's all about networking and building relationships. And when you do that, especially in this industry, because it is a small industry, we're not that big. There may be 15, 20 million people globally that's in this industry as a whole. And then when you get into natural refrigerants, it's a tenth of that. You know what I mean? Or even less than that. So the refrigeration industry as a whole is not very big. And then when we talk about the natural section of it, it's even smaller, but it's growing. I only started really in the natural refrigerant space 7 or 8 years ago, learning about it. I've worked on it before, but I didn't really understand it was just another refrigerant. But now it's like in the last 7 or 8 years, I've seen how it grew, and I've been following Sheco for a long time, and continuing to see more installations, more technologies, going from, just the standard booster systems to the high ambient strategies, now into chillers and now into heat pumps, which is going to be huge over the next few years. Once again, it goes back to that networking, building relationships, and just bringing awareness to people, because a lot of people don't know. Like, I didn't know that CO2 was really a refrigerant. I worked on it. Oh yeah, okay. But it needs to be brought to more awareness, I believe. So, and I've been following what you've been doing and your team's been doing for many, many years. So I give you a standing ovation for sure. But last week I was able to attend a few of the sessions and watch a few of the sessions that you put on. Why don't we talk about the Atmosphere World Summit? I believe 2022 was last week, this virtual online event. Why don't you talk to everyone about what it was and how it went?
Yeah, but before I say that, I want to say it's great to be in the spotlight today. Normally, I'm the one interviewing others, so it's weird to talk about myself. But I want to be clear: none of this could happen without my team. All right, none of this could happen without my team. And I've had some amazing colleagues over the years, and have a phenomenal team. And we're from all over, many different backgrounds: engineers, non-engineers. People have events background, people that are designers, analysts, economists, journalists, even the admin team, and we're all from different languages and cultures from all over the globe. And there's one thing that unites us, and that's that's the DNA that we share in Atmosphere, which is we want to do the right thing. We want to make a difference. We've got a purpose. And that is really gives us a real power, a feeling that we're doing something important. So, that I just want to make that, just that message out to the team, because, if you want to change an industry, which is kind of what we're trying to do, here you can see we want to clean up cooling. Okay. That's our basic mission. You need a team to do that, and you need partners, and you need a huge network and lots of different organizations and experts like yourself who are educating the market. It's really, really, really key. So going back to Atmosphere World Summit, that was last week. So the concept's pretty simple. It's just have a full day of webinars like these Zoom-hosted webinars covering a variety of different topics over a 24-hour period, so that you can cater for different time zones around the globe. And it's free. Make it free for people to access and learn from different experts from your home or from your office. So it was the first time we did only a conference like that, a 24-hour, and we just got the numbers yesterday. I don't know if that's good, I don't know if that's bad, but basically we had 8,000 views of the videos in that 24-hour period.
That's awesome.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Is that good? 8,000?
For sure. So, I think that is awesome, because now it's going to continue on, because I didn't have a chance to watch all of them, but there's more that I know I want to see, because there are some great topics that you guys had.
Yeah, and because they're all on YouTube now, and you go to Atmosphere TV, and you'll find us there on YouTube. Uh, Basically, they're there, so you can consult, you can go and view those videos, and we're seeing people actually view them now every day, and the reviews are going up every single day, and that's the power of YouTube. As you know, it will just grow, and we want to share that information because there's a lot of really good stuff from top experts, and so we plan to do this again next year. But we'll change the format a little bit, so rather than have it all in one day, we might spread it over several days to make it easier for people to listen in live and participate more and just digest all that information. But the concept is there, and we want to make that kind of like an annual thing for the natural refrigerant community, and online and free. And we had like people from 70 different countries attending.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, I'd say. So, we've got another 100 plus to go. So
Yeah.
it's about sharing that knowledge.
And I really like that. That's really what it's about. It's about sharing the knowledge, getting more people aware of natural refrigerant, having the top experts there to talk about the need of more natural refrigerant solutions like hydrocarbons, CO2, ammonia, and these, coming together to really help the industry. And that's what I really like. It's about helping the industry, bringing awareness, building relationships. And even the ones that I watched the one with Andreas Maris, I think it is, from Teco. That was a good one. And I watched one other one. Don't remember the name of that one, but really good and very informative. And because I'm always about investing in myself, and I try to coach and mentor people to, if you want to get better at natural refrigerants or CO2, take the time. There's a ton of manufacturers out there that are willing to give out their information. Some of them are trying to sell stuff, but that's okay. Some of them are actually giving the information to help people out. You know what I mean? To bring awareness to these new solutions that are coming, so you're not unaware, or you're taken by surprise when you go up to a system and all of a sudden there's R290 in the system and not the synthetic refrigerants.
Yeah, I mean, we have to scale up the natural refrigerants economy, right? We need people to understand that they can make a really good living out of natural refrigerants, whether they're technicians, contractors, engineers, or manufacturers, or whatever their role in the industry, and that they can do the right thing. They can make money. They can make sure they got enough money to pay for their families and kids, and do something good for the environment.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
That's a pretty cool combination, and a lot of the our industry is pretty old. It's very traditional. It doesn't like being disrupted. And this decade is going to be massive disruption globally for our industry. And it's going to start with the regulations. And so, there's going to be a shock to the system. And a lot of the kids that come out of college, or they're thinking of going to college, or they're coming out of school, and they're going, what? Cooling? Huh? How's that interesting? They want to develop an app or something. They want to do something slightly cool. They want to be on social media or whatever. They don't necessarily think of our industry as actually interesting. And I had the opportunity to have conversations with students, and when I told them about how you can make an impact directly on people's lives and be good for the environment and earn a good salary, they were like, "Wow, this is like, yeah, of course. Why aren't we doing this?" And we just do a bad job selling ourselves, to be honest. And our industry has a bad name because of the synthetic refrigerants.
Yeah.
Right. Because they screwed the planet up. Let's be blunt about this. They've started with ozone, then they went with global warming, and next they're going to do some other nasty stuff with the planet, right? With these HFOs. And so, why deal with that when you can go straight to natural refrigerants? It's a safe solution. You're not going to be banning them in the future.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know it's going to be all naturals at some point. Let's go back to that student talk. I really like that because that's something that I'm got a huge kick on now. I'm in multiple groups of trying to talk with students, younger people, about refrigeration. How did that go? So you talk to them and they're like, wow, it's cool. But when they first came into the room, because I see this a lot, they do not think of refrigeration. They don't even know it's an industry, because I didn't know it was an industry until 2004, and you started talking about naturals in 2003, you said. So how was that when you were speaking with these students, and how did you enjoy that?
Well, these students, admittedly, I met them at a refrigeration trade show, so they had an idea
Okay.
about refrigeration.
Okay,
But
good.
they asked me, are naturals the future? And I said, hey, what do you like doing? Do you care about the environment? They said yes. So that immediately is a purpose, doing something right. It's not just about the paycheck. And then I said to them, hey, because this is such a new trend, it's still a small share of the market, but there's going to be a huge need for people that know what they're talking about when it comes to naturals. This is a massive opportunity for you to be one of be in a competitive situation vis-a-vis others. And guess what? It's a global industry. So if you're any good at what you do, you can travel and visit the world and interact with lots of different cultures and people, all over the US, or even go beyond the US. All right. So, and they were like, whoa, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. That's actually possible. So, we should sell that more than so
I definitely believe that, we don't sell it good enough, just like you said there. And that may be something that I need to even work on more, is how do I help sell it more to be more beneficial? Because another thing, it's more of the younger people that I see today, it's not about the money. Like, a lot of them are environmentally conscious compared to when I was a kid. I was not, to be honest, environmentally conscious. Where I was from, there was no recycling. We didn't have recycling stuff till I moved to a city, and then I'm like, oh, this is a pain to recycle. But then I started realizing, well, this is bad for the planet when you don't recycle. And then it goes into refrigeration. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I'm French, right? France is not known for being very environmentally friendly, right? It's not known as a country for that. And I grew up not thinking about the environment. My parents didn't think about it. My grandparents didn't think about it. The only reason I'm in this space now is I got lucky, because I got brainwashed by a Norwegian Scandinavian company, right? That said, hey, the environment's core to our identity. And then I went on trainings and I realized, whoa, we got to do something about this. And then I learned and educated myself. And so you could say I got brainwashed, but I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, but they opened my eyes. I just
it.
got lucky. And I think it's just about, once you get access to that information, then, you can either choose to do nothing about it, or you can choose to act upon it. And I chose to act upon it. That's all.
And I really like that. I really like that, because I had a short-term vision for a long time, because I didn't know what was out there until I expanded, met new people, new networks, new relationships, to see, like, when you think about the planet, if you're only thinking 5 years ahead, well, what about 800 years or 1,000 years from now? Where are we going to be at if we don't start thinking about the environment now? Because look at what we've done in the last 200 years. We need to start, and these are small, simple steps that we can do, is look at these natural refrigerants. One of the questions that I do have for
you have kids, right? So do I. I mean, when they're old enough, mine are still young, but when they're old enough, I want them to look at me and think, Dad, you did something good. I want them to be proud of me. It matters to me. And I want to try and make this planet a little bit less worse. Because before it gets any better, it's going to get worse. That's just, if you read the IPCC reports, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse before it could potentially get better by the middle of this century. That's when my kids are going to be, that's when I'll be a grandfather, hopefully, right? So, it's depressing.
What are some of the biggest obstacles then you see for natural refrigerants?
I don't know how direct I can be on this one. HFC lobbying is a pretty big one. The guys that run the show right now, they make billions from the industry right now, and their business model is for leaky systems to leak and sell refrigerant. And they don't want that to change, and they can't patent natural refrigerants. So that's a big obstacle, and they have huge amounts of money that influence regulations everywhere on the planet. Okay, sorry to say this, but that's the reality on the ground when you deal with that. So that's a huge obstacle. And then the second obstacle is the perception that these systems don't work, they're dangerous, too high, pressures are too high for CO2, or hydrocarbons are flammable. But look at HFOs, they're flammable too, right? So what's flammable? Is it less flammable or more flammable? It's basically flammable. So if you accept flammability, then go to propane. So there's that perception that natural refrigerants are still seen as unsafe or not efficient or too costly, or it doesn't work over here. I get that a lot in the US. That's you Europeans do that, but over here in the US, it doesn't work that way. So it's about, just informing people that actually there are plenty of American players, hundreds of companies working in this space that are proving that actually it is a viable business. The systems are efficient and they have a bright future. So it's again linked to just sharing that knowledge, getting out there, raising awareness, and reassuring people. You said this in one of your previous interviews. I mean, people that learn about CO2, they have this perception it's like rocket science, right? But it's not. It's just another refrigerant. And once you know how to deal with it, it's fine. You move on. So, and that's it. It's that simple. Yeah. It's got its unique properties like the hydrocarbons and ammonia, but you deal with it. And then you design a system that's efficient, and these systems are efficient. And more and more end users are installing these systems worldwide across multiple applications. But I just had a conversation yesterday actually with someone in the industry, and if you still look at all the different cooling and heating applications worldwide, natural refrigerants, if you just look at the stock that we have right now, right, all the installations right now, how many? What do you think is the percentage share of natural refrigerants today?
1%.
Yeah, 1%.
Oh, is it?
It's nothing. It's peanuts. It's literally peanuts. We're nothing. We're nothing right now, right? However, if you look at all the new projects that are in the pipeline, all the companies that we talk to, there's always going to be a or several natural refrigerant options being discussed by customers. And that is a phenomenon, and that's becoming the standard technology now. In commercial refrigeration, Europe, it's the standard technology. So it's going to change very, very, very fast this decade. So it's still small, but it's the wave, it's a tidal wave. And that tidal wave is going to hit fast. And with the regulations that are going to force the industry to go to low GWP, they're going to say, do we go natural or do we go to HFOs? And it's that simple. So there's huge opportunity for the natural refrigerant players in the market.
That's good to know, because I'm all in with CO2 and natural refrigerants. Where do you see the technology going? Because I see more and more of it. It started, in the more of the supermarket space. That's where you see most of the CO2. But now I start to see in other space. Do you want to talk about where you see the future for CO2, then like hydrocarbon, and what areas are you going to start to see them? Because another one like air condition, I hear more and more about it, and I see a little bit, but where's the future for that natural refrigerant? Because you say in the next 10 years there's going to be a tidal wave of it. I'd love to know what your outlook is.
I mean, if we look at food retail, that's where CO2, that's where it really took off. It wasn't the first application that really had mass scale. That was actually in Japan with CO2 heat pumps, known as EcoCute, that started 20 years ago. And there was a lot of manufacturers in Japan together with a utility, TEPCO, and government support and subsidies that really changed that. And over that period, installed millions of these systems across Japan using CO2. That was a real, that was a proof of concept that CO2 could work for heating hot water, domestic hot water, and then applied that to also hospitals and other types of golf saunas, buildings, and all sorts of different applications. So, but if you look at commercial refrigeration, that kind of really started in Europe, in Scandinavia. Basically, the Danes and the Swedes and the Norwegians started this 15, 20 years ago. There were lots of great startups. The most well-known ones are Green and Cool and Advancer. Green and Cool is now part of a Carrier, and Advancer is part of Hill Phoenix. So, but these guys, startups basically from Scandinavia were challenging the HFCs. And I remember like 10, 15 years ago, the HFC side of the industry was saying, CO2 will never work, only work in really cold climates. It'll never work on continental Europe, definitely not work in high ambience. So the technology evolved, improved. Now it's, you use this in Spain and Portugal and southern Italy, and you go further south, you go to the southern part of the Mediterranean, sites, or Israel, or even further south. So it's all over the place. So, and it's working, and it's efficient. So that's changed. So that was with supermarkets, but then you see CO2 also going into smaller systems. So in Japan, for example, they have a big, it's the way the Japanese are. There's like convenience stores are everywhere in Japan. There are millions, I don't know if it's millions, but there are tens of thousands of these stores are all over the country. And CO2 became the de facto technology for cooling in these convenience stores. Okay.
Wow.
So they've installed thousands of these systems in Japan, and they're bringing that technology over to Europe and to the US. So with condensing units rather than CO2 racks. So you've got CO2 like starting in supermarkets, but then also going for the smaller applications. And then you've got CO2 challenging in the industrial side. So, and that's where there's a lot of excitement, CO2 for cold storage and other types of applications. And there's the sky's the limit there. And actually CO2 will challenge ammonia there to a certain extent. And also replace R22 in many parts of the world that use R22 for these applications. So it's very exciting to see. CO2 is going big and small. It's one of those refrigerants that has a potential in refrigeration to cover a lot of applications. And it can do heat pumps.
Yeah.
And then the next challenge is air conditioning. So you don't know this, but 15 years ago, CO2 was a viable candidate to replace 134A in mobile air conditioning.
Wow.
So there were like these events happening in Japan, America, and Europe. The car industry would meet, the mobile air conditioning experts of the car industry would meet, and they would test new systems and new refrigerants because they had to move away from 134A because it was being banned in Europe. You may have heard of the MAC directive. And it was forcing the industry to find solutions that were with a lower GWP than 150. Lots of engineers started looking at different solutions, and CO2 was the hot candidate, the one that a lot of people expected to win. And technically it proved it could, but then there were a lot of, let's just say, politics that got involved, vested interests that got in the way. And that's where we ended up coming out with many different blends of refrigerants. And the one that won, at least for now in Europe, was 1234YF, HFO. So, but some car manufacturers in Europe have said no to that because they know that it's not a safe solution. And scientists are starting to see that with the data. So that's why, you could expect restrictions coming on 1234YF in the foreseeable future in Europe because of that. So it's going to create opportunities for CO2 again in the car market for air conditioning. And as you know, CO2 is good for heating. So you can also use it for heating in a car. And that removes another component, and it makes it a lot more streamlined and more efficient and less costly, especially when you have more electrification of the powertrains. As more and more people drive electric cars, they'll want more efficient systems that can cool the indoor climate, the indoor cabin as well, and heat it efficiently. And CO2 for cooling and heating has a lot of potential. So that's exciting for CO2, but propane is also in that space. I could go on for days and hours, so I apologize, but
no, I love
it's exciting.
I love that your
There's
excitement
so much
about it, because we need more people in the industry to get together about talking about this, because it is exciting. These new technologies that aren't really new technology, but these new pieces of equipment, using it in different applications, and how to really change the industry for more environmentally friendly equipment and systems. And I really like that I keep seeing the technologies grow, like into chillers, into heat pumps, into air conditioning applications, which is already there. It's just a lot of people, you don't hear about it. And I'm involved in it a lot. in the industry, and there's still, I'm learning new things every day. Different parts of the world, people are trying new things, trying to invent new stuff and new ways to use natural refrigerants for our industry, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, refrigeration's a small part. It's air conditioning is the big market.
Yeah.
And naturals haven't taken air conditioning yet, but that's the battle of the next decade.
Yeah.
All right. I think refrigeration in the last 15 years, people have realized that naturals can work in refrigeration, big and small. And as more and more companies get in there, more and more components get in there, the cost goes down, there's more competition, end users feel secure that they have options, and people get trained around natural refrigerants. So on the refrigeration side, the big market to take is air conditioning. That's the big one. That's the one that pollutes the most. And there, naturals haven't gone for that yet, but they will. And that will start with regulations. Because
Okay.
a lot of these companies that will challenge the incumbents say, well, wait, we did this in refrigeration. Why the hell can't we do it in air conditioning? Yes, there are different dynamics because you're producing a lot more, you're manufacturing a lot more units, but ultimately it's the same process, right? It's the same logic, right? So it's kind of like, hey, if we could do it here, why can't we do it there? And then there'll be a lot more crossover, and you will see a lot of innovation in that space, a lot.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Now, and I'm excited about it too because, a lot of people don't like change and stuff like that. And even me before, years ago, I didn't really like change, but now I embrace change because it challenges me to be better and to grow and to get a better understanding of what's going on in the world of refrigeration. And I really like seeing that there's options as well. Because
Yes.
it really gets me because back in 1987, Montreal Protocol, CFCs and HCFCs were supposed to be gone, but we're still using R22. That just still doesn't make sense to me. Like that never
No, it
ever
doesn't.
made sense to me that in 2022 we're still using R22 out there. So
Yeah, I mean,
anyway, that's
30-year phase downs are a joke.
30
Sorry,
years. Yeah,
come on,
yeah,
that's a joke. I mean, yeah, our planet's not got that time left. Our kids don't have that time
yeah,
left.
and
And
that's
so the
fair.
technologies are there. The technologies are there to replace these refrigerants today,
Yeah,
not in 30 years. So,
exactly.
I don't believe that anymore. And I've, one of the things when you work in the natural refrigerant space, and I've been doing it for 2 decades, you have to have thick skin because you're being told day in, day out that you're crazy and no, it doesn't work. And no, that's not true. And, you have to kind of believe in something, right? And I believe natural refrigerants will win.
Yeah.
And I want to be part of making that happen.
I love it. Well, you are, and I love that. Let's get on to another topic. Let's talk
Yeah,
about Atmosphere America Summit.
yeah, yeah.
This has happened in June, I believe, 8th and
June
ninth. Is
7
that
and 8.
7 and 8?
No,
Sorry.
June 7 and 8. Yeah,
Excellent. Why don't you
Tuesday and
tell us?
Wednesday.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about this. This is in Washington, D.C., right?
Yep, yeah, yeah. Our first Atmosphere America was in DC 12 years ago.
Wow.
Was it 12? No, maybe 11, 10. I can't
That's a
remember.
long, quite a few of
It
them.
was a while ago, over a decade ago. And we did that in DC a couple of times. And then we moved all over the country, Chicago, Atlanta. We were a few times in California, different parts of California. So we went around and then now we're back in DC. Why? Because as you all know, the AIM Act in the US matters. It's things are moving in the US, which is great on the regulatory side. There's at least some certainty now rather than the uncertainty of the last few years. And so the EPA is working hard to kind of develop those details of the AIM Act and whether there'll be there'll be a phase down, but then how will some of these, will there be, the word isn't ban, but, how will some of these refrigerants be phased out per segment, per market over the coming years? And so there's a lot of opportunity to engage with the EPA and different stakeholders in DC to tell them, hey, you can go natural. There are lots of US manufacturers, lots of talent in the US and Canada they're ready to support the AIM Act and make sure that the US industry is also competitive in this space. And so that's why we're doing it in DC. We're going to have end users, we're going to have regulators, we're going to have manufacturers and different stakeholders to, just come together for 2 years, for 2 days, because it's been 3 years since we met in person.
Wow.
Because of COVID. Last time was in Atlanta. So it'll be great to meet again. And then just to kind of like go over a variety of different topics. We're going to have some really cool keynotes from end users. We're going to have a workshop with the EPA. We're going to have, I don't know, we've got so many case studies. It's crazy right now. So we're very happy about that. We'll talk about heat pumps as well. There's a lot. And in those 2 days, you're going to network with a lot of people. There'll be plenty of time to network and to ingest a lot of valuable information. And then, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm going to head down to that event because I'm excited once again to continue to network and build relationships with people that want to make a difference. You know what I mean? Want to make a difference in refrigeration, want to make a difference in the industry, do what is right for the environment. And I'm excited about it because I love learning. And the only way I can learn is from smarter people than me, that have the passion about natural refrigerants. And I think this is going to be a fantastic event to attend.
Thank you. If I think about the last 20 years of my experience in this industry, the technologies matter, right? You have to have them. But in the end, if you've got the wrong person promoting the technology, it'll go nowhere. It's all about the people. It's all about the people. And what I love about the natural refrigerant people at work, that I've engaged with across the globe, is that there's a commonality between us all. We want to make a difference. And we know how. And we believe in what we're doing. And we just get stuff done. We just do it. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO or if you're someone that's starting the industry. It doesn't matter. As long as you want to make, if you want to make an impact, you can with natural refrigerants. You really, really can. So just, but if you want to just chill and, just go by your day and not worry about the future and just go, short-term thinking, fine by me. But that's not very sustainable lifestyle, I would argue, especially in our day and age. You need to think a little bit ahead. You need to have a purpose. You need to have a plan, a game plan. And natural refrigerants is a pretty good game plan for people, I would say.
I definitely think so too, because there's not many people who are skilled in it in the industry. So it doesn't matter if you're an engineer, like you said, there's so much opportunity. If you're a technician, engineer, designer, whatever, there's going to be so many positions for people who understand naturals coming in the next 10, 15, 20 years, from designing the equipment to coming out with these technologies. So I'm excited about it. Hopefully I can make an impact by educating people and teaching people about naturals.
Yeah, you do an awesome job. I love your channel. I think it's awesome what you do. And you make it relatable.
No, thank you.
And that's really cool. No, you're really good at what you do, man. I'm a big fan. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Marc. So if anybody wants, before we get to questions, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, your team, how would they do that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You find this name, Marc Chasserot, Chasserot, and that's one way. Or you can, there it is. Yeah. Sorry, let me get out of the way.
There you go.
That's our website, our corporate website, atmosphere.cool. And there's an About Us page, and you'll find me there and some of my colleagues as well. So you can reach out to us there. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, no, you guys are all over the place, all over social media. It's easy just to Google you guys or your name, and it'll pop right up there. So I'm really impressed what you guys are doing and your team's doing. So I really say keep it up, keep going, keep pushing. And I really like that you have the passion. And like you said earlier, you get the thick skin, because there's going to be a lot of naysayers out there. And I'm sure it was even worse 20 years ago to as now. But now you're building a huge community and team. Talk about your Slack community a little bit too before we get going here.
Yeah. So we created an online community based on Slack, this program that allows people to exchange in kind of more real time information. And we opened that up to people that are really engaged around natural refrigerants. So we have like a process that, to get in, if you really want to get involved in natural refrigerant and you have a background in that space and you are genuine about being involved, then we'll welcome you with open arms. And we cover a variety of different topics, and we just create that kind of global space. And now we have 1,000 members, and it's growing every day, and we share a lot of knowledge. some very specific stuff, and then some more general trends. So it's a good resource, separate to LinkedIn, but for natural refrigerants, and we call that Atmosphere Connect. So you can Google that as well, and you'll find that Atmosphere Connect, and you'll find us there, or you can access it through atmosphere.cool. So and then it's free to join. So and get involved. And Trevor, you're a member, and you're a very active member, so we're happy to have you there. And so and others are welcome. Yeah, that's the community. And the reason we did that was because we felt that there was a need to connect people, especially in COVID time, to kind of create that commonality and make it easy for people to access knowledge quickly across a variety of topics from their homes or wherever they're working from. And it's worked. And we have plans for that to grow and develop over the following years, because as you said, there are millions of people that work in this industry across the globe, so we've got a long way to go. We've got a long way to go.
I love it. Thank you so much, Marc, for being on here. Now we'll hit up some questions. So we got one question here from Victor. He says, what about leaking refrigerants and TFAs? Is trifluoro acid, is that harmful for humans?
Yes. There are claims by the chemical industry that this is a naturally occurring thing, but there's credible scientists that are not paid by the chemical guys that dispute that very clearly, and I'm happy to share that information after. And then we're seeing in Europe, essentially, again, unfortunately, but there's a bunch of countries that have realized that this is a serious problem. This is probably why HFOs will get removed from the marketplace or heavily restricted, because once they get into your water, they have some serious effects on human health and the environment. And so this is I noticed in the US there's still a lack of knowledge around that space, around that issue. In Europe, we're a lot more advanced on that. And I think we talk about this internally. Is that for us to educate the US market about HFOs? Because I don't really want to spend my time talking about HFOs. It bothers me. I just want to focus on natural refrigerants.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to kind of say, hey guys, there's some issues there. They're not as safe as they claim to be. They're not as efficient as they claim to be, and they're damn well not cheap. Think twice before you commit to an HFO. Yes, it's serious. Yes, and I'm happy to share information. And I don't know how we can share after, but maybe I can put some links in the comments to your YouTube video.
That's what we'll do. I'll put in the description some of those links for these questions. Here's another one. Is the U.S. making enough effort to incorporate natural refrigerants in light commercial and residential markets?
No. But it started, and that's the good news. By residential, you mean domestic refrigerators, right? That's been a kind of there's like 700 million domestic refrigerators that use isobutane in the world.
Wow.
700 million or more. It's a proven technology.
Yeah.
But in the US, it's kind of been closed. It's a protected market, or has been until recently. But that's changing, thankfully, because there are some US manufacturers that have some hydrocarbon-based solutions for domestic refrigerators. For light commercial, it's all going to go propane, right, in the US. And there are plenty of players. One of the biggest players in the world is True Manufacturing, and they're a US manufacturer, and they have activities beyond the US, and they're a phenomenal job. And they've got so many different awards from the EPA in terms of energy efficiency. So they don't need to prove that they're better. So, and I remember when True were the first to kind of say, we're going propane, everyone else there's a big trade show, NAFM, that covers a lot of the light commercial stuff. Most of the manufacturers there were saying, no, we're going to stick with HFCs. And now they're following suit. They're following True's vision on this, and credit to True. They stood by and they went for propane, and they're being super successful, and they're moving the market in the right direction. But it's still way behind Europe today, still.
Yeah. Okay, another one here. Will the Atmosphere Summit in June be broadcast online?
No. No, because
you want to go there anyway. It's about networking and building relationships. You got to come out.
Yeah. One of the lessons we learned from doing events, because prior to COVID, we did lots of in-person events, and then COVID forced us to go online. And most people like us thought, you just do the same experience, but it's not the same experience. What we think going forward is that, these hybrid events, I don't think they have much of a future either. I think you either go in person or you go online, and they're very different. So the Atmosphere Summit that we did online, that was free for everyone because it's more effective. It's cheaper for us to host that event online, right? So our costs are lower. So that's why we can offer it for free. That's easy access knowledge, but it's a one-way kind of thing. You download that knowledge and then you consult that knowledge when you choose. But then if you go for an in-person event, especially now, it's all about networking. It's meeting people. I went to a great show that I love going to, the IIR show in Savannah, Georgia last month. It was 3 years since I'd seen people in person. It was awesome. Just meeting people again and just having that human interaction was phenomenal. And I think we miss that. We all miss that. And it's super valuable. And that's why we want to do an in-person event only in DC.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. That's awesome. And that's why I'm going. So another one here. I'm looking for tips to answer some people who say, I don't want flammable substance inside my system. If someone, I don't really know how people would know it's flammable unless you tell them, but any tips you would have to people who say, well, I don't want R290 in my system because it's flammable. Any tips?
But wait, sorry, the question is that they want propane and they don't
people
want to
say they don't want flammable substances inside my system.
Which application is this?
They don't say, but we'll just say.
Maybe give them a chance to read
AC.
Residential AC.
Yeah, I would assume residential.
Yeah, I mean, there are standards being put in place right now. They're coming out this year, actually. They're in the process to make sure that residential air conditioning with propane can be used safely.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are more and more manufacturers. Admittedly, a lot of these are Chinese manufacturers, and they have the production facilities in China to be able to produce those in mass. There's a lot of know-how, a lot of great experts in the space that have developed safe, efficient air conditioning with propane, which has huge market potential to move away from R22 and 410A. You don't need to go down an HFO. And again, HFOs are flammable too. So if you're going to go flammable, at least go for a natural flammable.
Yeah, no, that's great. So it's good. Everyone has a point of view, and it's good to have that conversation about it, just to get a better understanding, because they probably don't know those synthetic refrigerants are flammable as well, or mildly flammable, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah. I've seen the explosions. They're flammable too.
Awesome. Marc, any final words?
We've only just started.
Yeah.
Seriously, I've been doing this 20 years, but someone, I don't know where I heard this. Maybe you've heard this one. An overnight revolution is 20 years in the making. We've been at this for 20 years, some of us longer. A lot of people that I really respect in this space, they've been doing this for 30, 40 years. They've been true believers for a long time, and they've shared a lot of their knowledge with me, whether they're in Australia or in Europe or Asia or America. They're all over the place. There's really smart people working with natural refrigerants on every single continent of this planet: South Africa, Latin America, South America, Central America. They're everywhere, right? This is a global industry. It's exciting. There's so much opportunity, and we've got a huge market to take. 99% to go, and we're doing the right thing. So, if you wanna be in an industry that's got a future, natural refrigerants is the future. We're the clean guys. We're not the dirty cooling guys.
Love it, Marc. Thank you so much for being on the Refrigeration Mentor podcast, and we will see you all again in the next one. Thank you.
Thanks. Pleasure.